Hello, I'm Richard Kegler and welcome to Selling and Protecting Typefaces. In this course, we'll talk about the business of type. This is something that many designers don't like to think much about, but it is important to consider how your work gets out into the world and how you might make a living off of your work. I started the design company P22 Type Foundry in the mid-1990s as something of an afterthought to a much larger project. This project was an art installation based on the work of artist Marcel Duchamp. One part of the project required a handwriting font that would be convincing enough that it actually looked like it was a handwriting of this artist. Since no fonts existed that looked anything like his handwriting, I went about digitizing samples of his writing. After the project was over, I made some attempts to market this font through online shareware forums, but with really minor success. A little while later, I decided to package these fonts onto floppy disks and offer them to museum gift shops. We'll talk a little bit more about the packaging and the marketing in the next couple sessions. This worked out very well. The next few fonts for P22 followed this model of artist handwriting and historical lettering styles based on art and design movements. The first few years of P22 showed that there was great interest in historical fonts, and over the next 2 decades, P22 evolved to become a specialized house for a historically based type design. We learned a lot about marketing, promotion, and licensing in the process. Throughout this course, I'll refer to some specific P22 projects, but also try to convey some best practices in more general terms. Obviously, creating historical fonts is just one avenue for making money with custom type design. Other examples include work for hire from clients who need talented type designers to realize their ideas for them, and modification of existing designs to suit a particular need for a client. It should be said, however, that there's no simple way of just making fonts and making money from that. It takes a dedication to stand out in a field which already seems a little bit crowded. You have to love what you're doing and be savvy about the business side of things, as there are probably easier ways to make money. One type of custom project might be a client would like you to change a few letters in an existing font so that it becomes identified with their brand. Another type of custom project might be that someone has drawn an entire alphabet on paper and they just want you to turn it into a digital font. There are many variations of how you might be approached to do custom typeface design work. I will try to address these generally, but we'll give a few specific examples. With some of these avenues in mind, we'll spend the next 3 sessions talking about working with clients, the kind of licenses you might need to apply to your work, as well as marketing your work and building your own brand. In this session, we'll talk about working with clients with a big focus on the design brief, as well as additional considerations such as understanding intellectual property rights. The design brief. A design brief is a document that defines the scope and expectations of a project for you, the designer, as well as for the client. For personal projects like the Duchamp example I described at the beginning of the session, you probably don't need one. But for client projects, there's so many things to know. What are some of the main questions we'll ask in working with the client and developing a design brief? What type of project is this? That is, does it involve either adapting an existing design or developing a new design? What is the scope of the project? This defines the range of how much work is going into the project and whether the fonts you're making will be exclusively for the client or if you'll be able to release them yourself as well, or some combination of both. Ultimately, a license agreement for the final project is required no matter who the client is. Finally, what is the project schedule?